So welcome back, everyone. John Lay here from Talented Learning with another episode of the Executive Briefing Series. I love this series because we get to travel around the whole world virtually and see the best learning technology and learning system solutions around. Today on our tour is Learnie, and we're here with Bill Mastin, who's the founder of the organization. Bill, take it away. It's all yours.
Hey, thanks, John. Super excited to talk to you a little bit about Learnie today. Award-winning right out of the gate, early in Learnie's life cycle of creation, but super excited to share with what we've done already and kind of the kind of very different concept that we've brought to market, which really is about user-generated community learning, and you'll see how Learnie facilitates that and supports that. So very excited today to show you a little bit about Learnie, and please ask questions, as I know you will, as we go through it, and anything that comes up, don't hesitate.
Yeah, it's probably dangerous to tell me to ask questions since I'm already intending on it. Now I'll ask more. Go ahead.
Good. Cool. So just the simple kind of a little bit of the history and influences of Learnie. Really, it all came about when I and my team looked at kind of the current learning market. We looked at, corporate systems, compliance, regulatory systems, extended enterprise systems. We looked at all these different learning systems in the world, and we thought that there was the missing piece of, like, there was a gap in what I kind of characterize as community learning, but it has a lot to do with focusing around user-generated part of that, right? So being able to, leverage technologies and kind of concepts that were introduced and obviously accelerated, like TikTok, and how we were able to leverage that from a learning focus, and really tying it in a way that creates, a course or an outcome, not just entertainment, right? So thinking about kind of putting learning, kind of traditional kind of learning principles and reinforcement and all of that bundled together with that kind of power of the crowd that you get from a kind of a TikTok type app. So Learnie is mobile first. It is available on Android and Apple stores. It is, when I say mobile first, it is the recording aspect of it is all in the mobile apps. We now support Chromebook as an example, but the actual app itself, there's a web version, but the web version is more around consumption. When you're actually creating the content, you're using the mobile devices, okay? You'll see in a second that the Learnie itself is a combination of learning bursts that are up to 30 seconds long. So you'll see that in just a second. But really, the other aspect of it was focusing quite a bit on Gen Z and millennial learnings. So all of our research into how Gen Z learns, how millennials are learning, what they want, having basically learning in their pocket at any time, always pervasive internet connectivity, all of those things, and building a system that really took advantage of all those things was really the key driver behind Learnie.
Excellent.
And when you think about it from a program perspective, and this can sometimes mischaracterize this a little bit. I'm not actually suggesting that vetted, valid learning methodologies of creation or any of that's a bad thing. It absolutely, learning management systems and formal learning design and practices absolutely have their place in the world. The thing that I think this set does is sits really quite nicely next to it is a decentralized and democratized way of creating learning content, peer sharing content rapidly, and then sharing it amongst each other. So having somebody who's a salesperson selling fishing rods in a sports store, and he's the best salesperson out of 20 stores, and he's able to rapidly create a course on how he sells fishing rods, as an example, and share that throughout their cohort, and that basically all of their salesmen and salespeople that sell fishing rods increase their performance because they have access to that kind of on-the-ground content creation. You'll see in the app there's social aspects, there's likes, there's ways that the democratization occurs so that really the more valid content is shared more often, and it's commented on and liked more often than the content that isn't valuable. So it really is kind of a paradigm shift from a decentralization perspective as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So probably everybody's familiar with this Meet the Modern Learner slide, but just a couple points on this. The modern learner learns less than 4.2 minutes a day. They won't watch over a 4-minute video. Often the interruptions are happening every 5 minutes. My daughter's texted me 5 times since we've started this call. so 9 times per hour, people are looking at their smartphone. So really what we tried to do is design Learnie to be untethered, on-demand, collaborative, and empowering for the users and learners that are participating in that kind of community learning. So at the start of Learnie, we really focused on developing that experience of that user-generated, being able to rapidly create a course. And you'll see this when I do a demo, but you can create a course or a Learnie, we call them Learnies, with Learning Burst. And the Learning Burst can be an uploaded video, a record in-app video, or an image, like if you want to take a picture of a PowerPoint slide and you wanted to upload that into the Learnie and then talk over that, we allowed that to happen. The other thing that's critical to understand is that at every 30 seconds, maximum, it can be less than that, it can be 5 seconds, but at every 30 seconds, there is an engagement or reinforcing question. That can be true, false, multiple choice, polling, yes, no questions, or you can just say continue if you don't have a question, but it makes people to continue. You'll see this in the app in just a second, but when you take the course, we kind of lockstep you through. You have to go through kind of each of in the learning. A Learnie could be 1 learning burst, it could be 100 learning bursts. So it's really up to the author to create what that experience is that they want, depending on the topic and what they're trying to show. But at those increments, they get questioned to move to the next learning burst, and there's feedback loops like polls where you can actually ask questions embedded in the Learnie itself. So I'm sure you'll have more questions when you actually get to see it, but that's kind of the core learning experience and creation. Now, the powerful part of Learnie that the individual learners don't really get to see is the kind of the back end of the way we've designed cohorts. Now, cohorts are just groupings of Learnies and of users, and there's private cohorts where people can be completely locked down. So we can even reduce and remove the public feed so that if you are working for an organization and your organization is signed up, you've logged in, and you'll see a picture of this in a second, you get dropped into your cohort. You literally can't see anything but what's in your cohort. And so it can be locked down to that level. We can also have open cohorts where you just share a link and people can log in. The first time they log in, they get dropped into that cohort. There's CSV files for completions, CSV files to be able to send up email addresses to create cohorts. So we've tried to create some simple tools to integrate in a way to pull these things, to stand this thing up within a day. Really, that's the goal of an implementation, is to stand something up within a day. And when I think about the way that we've designed this content, if you think kind of philosophically of learning systems, and and I think about it like this, John. Every system needs to either start empty or it needs to start full. You look at traditional learning management systems, of course, they need to start fully populated with the people, with the content, with all of that, right? What we're doing right now on GoToMeeting and Zooms and things that are happening now for synchronous face-to-face kind of stuff, those systems by their nature need to start empty. And so I was really focused on when we built Learnie to make sure that we started with a system that starts empty, so that the organization their people in the organization could start creating the content immediately and derive value from day one of actually turning the system on. The first Learnie that gets created, that first piece of learning that then gets shared with those people in the cohort will add value to that organization because the training's happening immediately. The way it works, as an organization, you define your cohorts. You just say, well, I want 4 cohorts, I want 3, I want 1. We create them for you. Then you put the people into the cohorts as an administrator. And then the first time those people log in, and there's various methods they can log in through Google, Apple, email as examples, they automatically get put into that cohort, and they get to create in that cohort and also consume the content that's in that cohort. If it's private, nobody else will see it, as an example. You'll see this more from the user perspective or the learner perspective in just a little bit, but the goal here is to rapidly create a community where learning can happen and break down the barriers of that.
Excellent. Who's your target market, Bill?
So I think that any organization that sees the power of user-generated content and has the kind of willingness to go down this direction, which I think would sit very nicely next to their formal learning systems. I think those organizations, because pretty much every organization in the world has some learning requirements, right? That being said, I do think manufacturing that has the ability through this structure and cohort to actually get feedback and learnings through their entire value chain is amazing. So I'm looking at verticals of manufacturing. I think nonprofit and community learning is another one as an example. And I think, organizations say it, like when I think of horizontal sales enablement, support functions, being able to communicate with your customers on products. But we have 3 or 4 identified, kind of target markets. I think organizations that'll be more willing to launch into this will be smaller organizations to start with. But in my mind, John, user-generated content has won the war, right? In a lot of ways, and it's not like it's going to replace, the existing content development and the way that's happened in the past. But it is absolutely, center stage and valuable, and organizations that take advantage of that are going to be the ones that have the competitive advantage in the markets.
You mentioned that it would sit alongside a more formal learning system. What does that mean?
So the way that we designed it is that it can operate as completely autonomous in by itself. You can also capture the links and put those links in formal learning systems. If you can also embed, we put embed codes, the ability when you're creating a Learnie to get an embed code and put it into a WordPress site or into another learning management system if you wanted to, or other formal assessments. So if you want to build out a curriculum structure, you can do that with a series of Learnies that you're capitalizing on by your, some of the best content that your own organization has created that isn't necessarily coming technically from L&D. But those kinds of integrations we've built already. And of course, we're looking at a bunch of different other options on how we can further integrate with, kind of the formal LXP or digital employee experience platforms that are out there now, are LMSs.
Wow, interesting. Thanks. Well, let's see it.
Yeah. Cool. So just a quick thing, we've got a number of...
Oh, sorry.
No worries. I'm going to show you just this last thing. We've been given the 5-star award for Educational App Store. There is a very much an angle in kind of school and education using this as well. So we'll see a little bit of the content in the app today that has some of that. We've won some awards already, and we've already got our first kind of sets of customers that have started to use this and grow their cohorts and community learning. Last thing is where we're going from here. So you'll see today that we built the cohort construct, we built the core user-generated sharing capabilities, all of that. Our next big release, which will be in January, will actually have a kind of a lightweight curriculum drip feed sequencing event so that people can layer together these learnings, like from an onboarding perspective. Someone's starting new, they need to learn standard operating procedures. And we actually have some of our customers today that are going to be using it for exactly that. And they're going to have a kind of a lightweight curriculum where they finish the first topic, then they move to the next, and they move to the next. So all great stuff. Let me flip to what this looks like in the app. Like I said before, I'm going to log out just to show you this real quick. There is a web app version of this at learnie.app, and you can get all of the consumption through the browser. It's just that when you go to the course creation, you're either using a phone, a tablet, or a Chromebook. All right. So we've given different options to log in, and like I said before, if you already assigned a cohort, you would have that. I'm just going to log in with an email address because I've got a test account here set up with some content to show you. So this is what you're gonna see, and I'll just show you the public feed here. So what you see in the app is in the upper left, this is a search so that if you're part of the public feed or a cohort, you can do a simple search and anything gets pulled up from the actual name of a course to the description of the course. Like if I wanted to go math, you get an algebra course there, for instance. There's many other ones that you can, you'll see there's other math courses, but just as algebra courses, it gets a little bit more complicated. In the upper left, or upper right, I'm sorry, what you see is the cohort. Now, it's important to note that these cohorts can be in kind of multiple ways. You can have them public or private. Right now, if you were to just log in an account and you're not assigned to any cohort, you would just see the public feed, which are all these courses right here. Sorry, I'm moving so fast. But there's everything from, biking to yoga courses to snowboarding courses, all that kind of stuff in the public feed. If I were to go here and look at a particular cohort, I might say this Mount Resort one, and you would see just 2 courses that are available in that cohort. And like I said, the user can actually be locked that down to only accessing their organization cohorts if that's what's requested or required, right? In the bottom, you've got the search page, which is what you're seeing right now. The middle is the Learning Builder, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. And then the last is the profile page, which includes your transcripts and the courses you've already taken. You can either see a transcript was completed on a certain date, like this one, or let's see, this one. And then, or what you can see is the course itself you can dive into. If you finished a course, John, like we don't make you lockstep back through it. You can flip through it as easily as you'd like. Just to show you the experience real quickly of what that looks like, the course itself or the learning itself, you can like or dislike, you can comment. So there's email notifications that happen if you comment on a course. You can see how many people are on the course, and then you can share the course. And the sharing is pretty much email or any of that kind of typical email, text message, all of that stuff. So imagine yourself on the floor selling something. You don't know what this product is about. You've texted your friend or you've asked somebody, and instead of them stopping and trying to educate you on how to sell a fishing rod or how to work a cash register, they actually just text you the Learnie that actually explains that, and then you're off and running. And basically self-service, you're able to get up to speed and sell the product or whatever, right? So as easy as that. And then on the course builder, there's 3 things, or Learning Builder, there's 3 things that you need to be able to do to develop a course. The metadata, super simple, a name, description, and a cover image, right? Once you do that and hit save, and I'll just jump to one that's already done, you'll see that this is the creation page where you can add a new learning burst, and that's where you're adding an image, a recorded video, or you're recording in-app. So you have those options available to you. when you're creating a new Learnie. And I'm going to go through that process in just a second, but I wanted to explain the rest of this page. This is the embed feature that I was telling you about, where you could take and even put, let's say for yourself, you did a Learnie and you wanted to embed that in your page to educate people about your services, right? You would be able to do that and just copy that and paste it into the page. Then the other thing you'd be able to do is have a private link. If you didn't want to have this in the public feed or a particular cohort, for instance, you would be able to get a private link and share it and test out the Learnie without anyone actually being assigned into a cohort. If it's assigned into a cohort, if a person's not in that cohort, forget about it. They can't access it. They will never be able to see it unless it's also in the public feed. All right. Real quick, how you create a learning burst. I'm just going to record a video, or well, let me actually do this. Let me do one that is an image, and we'll just say something like a driveway, right? And then I wanted to record, say something like, driveways are fun. Do you think this is a good one, right? And then when I continue, I get to choose if I'm going to add a Learnie burst on this, right? So it's yes, no, true, false, multiple choice. I can do that, or a poll, right? And when I do that, like for instance here, I can say yes, no, and bam, I can save that, and it saves the burst, and it adds that to my my entire Learnie that I built. All right. So then, and you can see a poll results right here. So I can see if anybody's answered that question. So that's not really popular yet because no one's answered it. So that is, and if I were to go back at Snow Day and take that course, you would see it would have 3 learning bursts down at the bottom now, not just 2. So that's just a simple example to show you how easy it is to create a course and then start adding learning bursts to it. I wanted to show you, if you don't have any questions on that, I wanted to show you kind of the cohort piece, because that's where I think a lot of the power for an organization comes into play, because everything I'm showing you right now, quite frankly, in various ways, although it can't be packaged with questions and reinforcing questions like, a TikTok can't do that. But, but what you can do in this world is, in the Learning world, is actually go in and manage your cohorts. Now, you can add users to a cohort just by giving them the link, right? You can share that link, or you can copy it. You can upload a CBS file if you want to. You can add users. You can add an entire domain name. And then what you can also do is you can go in and you can actually monitor and manage the courses that are part of your cohorts. You can let's say somebody created some, user-generated content and it's completely off the mark. Let's say it's crazy, wacky. You're able to go in and actually hit this mark and make it, and you kick it out by making it invisible in your cohort. And then you can also go down the path here of looking at transcripts and exporting those transcripts as CSV files if you'd like to, right? And see the individual transcript, date complete. And when I said the next step for us, John, which is going to be really a big deal, is the leveraging of what I call Learning Journey, which is a drip feed experience that will take these courses and give somebody a whole series of courses if they need to learn, the products that you're selling, and you give them this whole set of 10 or 20 Learnies to get through. They'll do that in a sequence kind of drip feed experience. And then the only other thing is and I'm just going to bring up the web browser version of this really quickly. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So then if I show you kind of the total cohorts right now, and I'll give you this example right now, there's a way to restrict content. So if I because I think some organizations will not be ready for full-on pure user-generated learning out of the gate. So that's fine, right? But what we want to be able to do is give them a crosswalk. So we've set it up so that if an organization only wants 5 of their people to be the authorized content learning creators, they can do that, where they actually are able to only have those people. And what that looks like from the end user perspective is they just simply can't create. They won't have, they'll be able to create and put something in a public feed if that's available to them, but they wouldn't be able to create and put anything into that cohort if they're restricted from accessing that cohort. So we've tried to make it as simple as possible. The thing that we're going to be using of time on in the next 3 months is more enhanced reporting. And then integration. So more analytics, more reporting, giving people the ability to see more than just kind of the end result of the finished transcripts.
Mm-hmm. Wow, great stuff, Bill. I haven't.
And then I'll just show you this real quick. This is like, yeah. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Let's see the rest of it, and then I'll throw my comments out.
Okay, well, this is the and the only thing is this is the web experience where you can see, you can have all this still where you're still chatting, you're able to do likes, you're able to share. This example is one that you can take a look at. It shows you every kind of variation of a question type and reinforcing question, but it's also important to note that you can upload, and this is an example, you're actually uploading in here a TikTok video, right? So, and able to, see that you can upload any video you want and trim it down to the learning burst size. And I have a lot of people that had maybe 5-minute videos they recorded or whatever, and what they're doing is they're just going in, uploading it, trimming it to 30 seconds, asking their reinforcing question, and going to the next 30-second block. And they're kind of doing it in that way to create, create content from their already existing videos.
Wow.
So,
wow, I thought I was taking my hour videos down to 5 minutes. Now you got to take 5 minutes down to 30 seconds. Man, I got to start all over. No, that's
well, but you don't with Learnie. Like, you can use Learnie to do all that for you. It'll automatically trim it for you.
Trim it down and give me a Learnie journey. Hey, well, good stuff. Knowing that you come from the LMS world, it's neat to see your unique approach on really solving a lot of the formalized learning problems with instant, informal, modern way that people learn. There's so many applications of this. My mind's always sitting in the corporate space, and there's a lot of, I think, enhancements over like the corporate LMS collaboration is kind of not a whole lot different than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of enhancements to using a much more realistic collaboration tool like this to learn and share. So that would be like the existing market. But if I flip all the way to the other side of just personalized learning, I mean, me and a few buddies right now are trying to learn Spanish. I think, just the 3 of us, bantering back and forth in this, and, we're going to be, the other end of the spectrum of just individualized, personalized learning in that small group, and really everything in between. So I think, as you mentioned, small businesses, it'd be hard to produce videos on how to do everything, but over the course of a month, you could probably outline a whole restaurant's menu and preparation procedures and things like that.
That's, you know what? So, John, what's amazing is, so we have a coffee shop we're working with in Georgia right now, and they're new, and they were looking at having to build out their entire standard operating procedures for the cash register, making the coffee, all of that, and they decided to go with Learnie because they actually talked to their Gen Z and millennial workforce, and they basically asked, well, if you had a choice between these short video learning experiences versus reading a manual, what do you got? And they were just like, it's not even, please,
Read a manual.
right, read a manual, right?
How quaint.
So
How quaint.
I do think that even, it's so pervasive now, like, TikTok and Facebook and all these different, the Instagram, but I do think it's driven in a lot of way even further by, the Gen Z and millennial workforce that's growing every day. So
yeah, how do you buy this? What's how do you think about pricing?
So we think a very competitive pricing model. It's actually, we tried to make it so easy that if somebody needed just one cohort for a small group, like up to 200 to 500 people, they can actually do that in app, and you can look at it mylearning.com /pricing. You'll see the pricing there, but it's for $14.99 for 20-person cohort per month, right, is a pretty easy way to try this out. The other thing is anything bigger than that in organizations that might have multiple cohorts or some integration requirements or things like that, those things are priced priced directly. But even that, like, I look at a 5,000 person organization or in a variety of 5 cohorts, something like that would be just about $20,000 annual. So nothing, Shevin, I see this sitting very nicely side by side with formal learning systems. So I think that you're not going to do away with compliance and regulatory reasons for organizations, but if you want to engage your community and try to capture the power of the crowd that exists within your organization and across your entire value chain, this is the type of platform that actually helps to do that in a way that, the traditional learning systems, even the LXP world, I don't think was ever quite successful in doing that. So we're very excited to take this to market, and pretty much everybody I've shown this to so far has been really excited about the potential and just trying to get their head around, in some cases, like what's the best way to roll out a program around something like this.
Interesting. And it seems like you're on the right direction. And for the listeners or viewers, what's the best way to learn more or to try this out? Is it to go to learning.com or to download the app? Or
so mylearning.com will give you access to the learning.app web version, which you could create an account and look at some of the sample content out in the public catalog. And then if you want to, you can always email directly, or there's a contact page on the mylearning.com website. But Bill at mylearning.com, you can reach out to me directly and be happy to help you get set up. And we're a small shop right now, focusing mostly on innovation and shipping new product basically every month to get this thing up and running and really, growing fast basically. So super excited. But yeah, I would love to work with organizations that want to really look at this, learning, kind of community learning aspect in a completely different way.
Outstanding. Well, listeners, if you want to democratize your learning and enhance your cohort sharing of knowledge, you know where to go, mylearning.com. Bill Mastin, founder of Learnie, thanks for coming on the show today and telling us about what you've been up to and showing it and bringing it to life. You certainly are on the right path here, and we wish you the best of success in the industry, and come back and show us your updates sometime.
Thanks, John. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, listeners. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Bill.